I think it's interesting to study the different personalities of motorcycle riders, and they tend to clump up in groups. Like, there's no question about it, Harley riders have a distinct personality, and they pretty much all dress the same. Even if they weren't on their motorcycles, as long as they had their garb on, you could very easily spot the Harley riders. It's usually a leather vest, and in many cases it got patches all over it. And so often it's got the, which is an imitation of the biker gang colors on the back. But many of them, of course, are legitimate. But and then they had a lot of little medals and trinkets about the rides they've been on and things like that. They're almost always old. Yeah, I know. You're saying, if I would have told you I'm 73, you say, well, you're old too. I know, but I like to pretend I'm not. So, but they're almost always old, and of course there's a reason for that, is because you can't afford one of those things if you're young. You're probably just not making enough money. I don't know, for some reason the Harleys just don't attract the younger crowd. They usually have some amount of facial hair, either a full beard or a goatee. And many of them don't wear any protective gear at all. Now, I've seen more and more Harley riders with helmets on these days, but they usually in the summertime are riding with t-shirts, and they got their girlfriend on back, sometime with a tank top, bare arms. And you know, it's just that they do fit a mold. Now, if you look at the Japanese motorcycle riders, well, let's lump those in the categories that we used to call crotch rockets. That's what I'm riding now. They don't have all that. For some reason, they don't seem to need to broadcast what kind of motorcycle they're riding. Not so much. The stuff they wear is protective stuff for the most part. Now, you know, I've seen some of these kids on these crotch rockets blaring down the freeway in t-shirts and even sometimes in shorts and flip-flops. I've even seen that. But for the most part, they wear protective gear even in the summer. And I sometimes wonder what causes this. And I think it might be because one of the things us old guys struggle with is regret over things we wish we had done when we were younger. And so these old guys who can afford these Harleys, you know, a lot of them have worked really, really hard all their life, and they've sacrificed, and they built businesses in some cases, and now they're retired and they've got money. But the money they pursued so vigorously all their life now doesn't give them the satisfaction that they thought it would. And so they sometimes long for the days when they could have been just kind of a free and irresponsible, cool guy on a motorcycle. And so Harley kind of fits that bill. So a Harley is pretty cool. It looks really good, and of course it sounds great if you like that exhaust in it. They get to ride with a group of like-minded people who all dress the same. So, you know, it's kind of like being in a motorcycle gang. So maybe that's what's going on. Maybe all of us are trying to recapture a youth that we never pursued when we were young, and now before it's too late, we want to do it. There's some of the Texas wildflowers are out, nice yellow. Haven't seen any bluebonnets yet. We might see some. Another thing I've noticed about Harley riders, they tend to be really, really opinionated. And maybe that's because they're so old and kind of stuck in their opinions and beliefs about the world and the way things are. But they're not a terribly inquisitive type for the most part. They're not folks that you can sit around and, I mean, especially in politics, boy, I mean, you don't want to talk about politics, at least in this part of the country, because there is no discussion about politics. It's just expressing opinions, and usually they're half-ass opinions that aren't based on any fact at all. Somebody yesterday said, I heard they were putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Who in the hell is Harriet Tubman? So they found out who Harriet Tubman was, her place in history, her contributions to the country. And her next comment was, I don't know. They're putting black people on everything these days. That's where I live. Right in the middle of this. Very good friend of mine that when I worked for the bank, she had been with the bank for several years. She was a black woman. Just an absolutely wonderful person. Everybody loved her. And one day I was talking to her and said she was born in Pulaski, Tennessee. And that's where she grew up as a child, in Pulaski, Tennessee. And you know, she said that's where the Ku Klux Klan was formed, in Pulaski, Tennessee. I said, yeah, I know that. And she was one of the most positive, loving, happy, joyful people you ever want to meet. And I asked her, I said, how in the world did you grow up in a place like that, around those kind of people, and still have the loving, kind, positive attitude that you do? And I thought she said something really profound. She said, well, when you grow up in a place like that, being black, did you either love them or you hate them? And I just decided early on that I was going to love them. It gave me something to think about, whether I could adopt an attitude like that. So living in this part of the country gives me an opportunity to try to practice that, because I'm sort of a political junkie. By that I mean I'm drawn to the news. It's like an attractive nuisance. And I try not to do it so much anymore, because it's not good for my health, really, because it doesn't do me any good. It just makes me upset and angry. And I used to talk about it a lot, or try to, because there's nobody in this part of the country that you can talk about if you share my kind of politics. As you probably already gathered, yeah, I'm a liberal. I hope that doesn't lose me any subscribers, because I need you desperately. But I'm a liberal, and I'm proud of it. But being a liberal in this part of Texas is a lonely, lonely life. But I used to try to talk about it, and it just didn't get anywhere, and all I did was just piss off people, and they'd piss me off. And then I used to try to get on Facebook, and I would think I'm a pretty good writer, and I like to write, and I would craft these what I thought were brilliant messages that were filled with pure logic about the absurdity of the world and how crazy people are and why we need this and why we need that. And I thought, yeah, man, I got 500 friends on my Facebook page, and I'm gonna change some minds. I'm gonna make some things happen. No way, it didn't happen. All I did was started these flaming wars, people coming back on me and calling me horrible, horrible names. And you know how it is on the internet, when you have the anonymity, boy, you can say some terrible things to people. And so I had to give that up, realize that was just stupid. And so I just had to realize that I had to take my friend's advice. You either love them or you hate them, and it's much healthier and it's better for the whole world to try to love them and try to respect as much as possible their point of view and not try to change anybody's mind, because you're not going to do it. And it just helps me navigate the landscape here in this part of the country a little bit better.